go.
All right, hey, just real quick before we start, the mic's in front of you. If the red light's on, you gotta push that little button. If you want to speak or you can have it on, and then it'll pick you up on the mic. So you just push that button in the very bottom. And the light goes green, and you're on the mic. Theirs don't have lights?
I was gonna say, I don't see a light.
Oh, you just push the button, okay.
But those finger passports.
Yeah, should be good. So with that, I'll call the meeting to order since we currently do not have a chair. And the first item would be the board needs to nominate a temporary chair for this meeting to get us started here.
I'd like to nominate Mr. Lay as our temporary chair.
I'll second that.
You guys would need a vote on that.
All in favor? Aye. All opposed? Like, carries?
So, congratulations.
Thank you, brother.
You got the agenda in front of you.
Okay, let's call votes.
I'll
All
just
right,
do-
the election of officers.
Well, before we do that, jump to the next item. We have a new member. We've already sworn him in at his orientation, but Lonnie McGuire's our new member from the city of Danville, and we did orientation a week or so ago. So he's ready to go, and we still have a vacancy on this board. Danville had 2 vacancies. So at this point, you all just have 6 members until the 7th seat is filled.
Welcome
So I just
aboard,
wanted
Lonnie.
to introduce Lonnie,
Glad to be here. Thank you.
and then you're on to it.
Okay, now, the election of officers.
And these are from this point through June 30th of next year. And again,
Okay.
our officers are a chair, vice chair, and secretary. There's 3 officers. Lisa serves as the recording secretary, but there is a secretary in case 2 can't attend. We have a 3rd officer that can step into the role as temporary chair.
And if there's agreement among you about who's going to serve in these positions, you can vote as a slate if you prefer.
Yeah.
Okay. So, take a chair first. It's been called my attention that Mr. Comer would like to chair. I'll nominate him.
He's
Have a
an
second?
eligible candidate.
Do we have a second?
Again, I'd like to second that, being that he's not here today to defend himself. It's appropriate that we move him forward.
All in favor? All opposed? Motion carries.
Vice chair.
Vice chair. Anybody want to nominate a vice chair?
Role of the vice chair is if the chairman can't attend, the vice chair would chair the meeting.
Jess, would you be willing to serve as our vice chair? I'd like to nominate Mr. Purdy as our vice chair.
I'll second that.
All in favor? Any opposed? Carries.
And then secretary, again, just in this slim chance neither officer could attend, and they would serve
Does
as
she need to
chair.
be nominated?
Yes.
Or nominate Lisa?
No, Lisa serves at it on the staff role,
okay.
but one of you all have to technically be the secretary.
Anybody want to nominate secretary?
No duties.
Nominate Mr. Lee.
I'd like to
Have a
second that
second.
nomination.
All in favor? Opposed? Okay, now where are we at, ma'am?
We're good?
Now,
Good.
Mr. Purdy has to act as the chair for the meeting if that's, or we're going to
Yeah.
continue with the temporary.
Yeah, however you guys want to continue.
We have a temporary chair appointed. We can continue in that fashion, or you can relinquish the gavel to our vice
It
chair.
doesn't matter. You ready? You want it?
You want to start today, or you want to wait till next month? You want to
Huh?
just continue what you're doing?
Yeah, I can. Yeah, okay, we'll roll on. Okay. And we ready for number E, Steve, public
Yes.
hearing?
Yes, sir.
Go ahead.
In the minutes.
Minutes.
Oh, okay. Do we have approval of the minutes?
So move.
Second? All in favor? Okay, Steve?
Yep. So the next item is a public hearing, and you guys should have the staff report in your packet. I'm putting the slides up there just in case someone on the video or someone from home. We are live streaming this on YouTube. Someone wants to see the property. This is a conditional use permit, about as straightforward as they come. The property is 871, right here in the corner of Count Fleet, and that's Gallant Fox. And again, there's a staff report in your packet. There's the house as you're looking at it as it faces Count Fleet. And what the applicants are proposing is to basically put a beauty salon in the house, a single operator, single seat hair salon in this structure. And you all don't see a ton of these, but if you turn to page 2 of your staff report, you can see to do what we call personal services. And it says such as, right there's the first thing, hair salon, nail salon. You have to get a conditional use permit first before you can start the activity in the house. And this applicant filed an application, paid the fee, we advertised, put a sign in the yard, notified neighbors. And then at the bottom of page 3, you can see the applicant has put some conditions forward with their application that we think are well-structured and are the style that you would expect for a home occupation of this nature. And I'll just read those real quick. Sitting on my glasses here, but bottom of page 3, it says salon clients by appointment only, single operator, single chair facility, hair service only, no nails, massage, etc., and customer parking in the driveway limited to 2 cars, and then a small wall sign or mailbox sign if required by the state license. The reason applicant committed to 2 cars is it is a single service kind of hair salon, but you know, if she's doing an appointment at one time slot and the next client potentially shows up, as you can see by that picture right there, they have a driveway that can easily accommodate their vehicles for their family, as well as 2 additional cars would be easily accommodated on that property. And then again, there's the zoning map. Again, shows it zoned single family on the corner. And again, there's the house, and there's kind of a zoomed-in view. And we had a couple calls, just curious, because our signs say conditional use permit. They don't say specific home occupation or hair salon. So we had a few folks call and just inquire, hey, what's going on there? And as you can see, no one's here except for the applicants. So that's all I've got. Your staff report outlines, I guess, our review criteria, how you guys make findings, and of course there's the canned motions up or down on page 6 of the staff report, and Henry can help you guys if you get to the point you're ready to go with a motion. And with that, the applicants are here to answer any questions. I can answer any questions. They may want to add something that I missed if they see fit.
Does anybody want to speak?
You guys want to add anything?
Any questions?
My only question was regarding parking, and the applicant's voluntary stipulation satisfies that concern, possible concern.
I've got something, Steve.
Mm-hmm.
Just a question. First off, I'm all in favor of a small business, because we've been annihilated with small businesses being shut out in this community and others. That's my political speech for the day.
First one.
But I do have a concern, not a concern. Are there building codes here in the city that require them to have handicap accessible?
So they have to address some building code issues, they have to address some plumbing code issues, and of course they have to get a state license. So all of those things are independent of our conditional use requirement or the standards we have, and those are things they have had to address, and they can address any of those issues if you want, but I believe they do have to adhere to those things and have either been working or finished with some of those modifications. Again, you guys may want to talk about what you've been working. You can come over here if you want, sure. You guys can sit over here. I know the health department's involved, there's a plumbing code requirement, and they've been working on some of those things. And for our temporary chair, you have to swear in all witnesses other than the staff here.
State your name. Raise your hand and swear everything you're gonna say is the truth. Okay. swear everything you say is gonna be the truth as far as you know? Yes. Yes, ma'am.
So just like Steve, right,
Yes, sir.
stated, my wife Joan has to meet, health, state health board conditions for cosmetology. There will be an inspector that comes out after pending this, meeting, plumbing inspection has to be signed off on by Boyle County. And then, like I said, the state health for cosmetology has to come out and inspect, keep the towels separate, what,
All the strict,
for COVID.
COVID, yeah. They
People
will
will
come.
call when they're, how long they get there.
And they were inquiring about ADA handicap accessibility, I guess, how, if you're bound by that, by anything, and how you are addressing that, yeah, that's,
They will let us know that, at some point, and it will be accessible.
We do have two entrances into our lower level through the garage, which also has a 36-inch door, and then each door into the house, there's two of them, and each bay of the garage is also 36 inches. And there is a half plan for in that area.
Okay. Any more questions for him?
Yes, Mr. Chair. Mr. and Mrs. Crittenden, what are your plans for the sign? It looked, I read the regs, you are required to have an entrance sign. What are your plans for that?
We have not, explored yet all the different sign companies here.
Okay,
But I'll just make sure that it's within the right sizing and, most likely put it from the mailbox, because
Okay.
that way that when I could be inspected at any point in time from the cosmetologist,
right,
say inspectors don't know exactly where to go.
right.
So I'm thinking just a wooden, simple, sign or anything.
Sure.
Yeah, our experience, it's interesting with, we sign off on a lot of licenses, hair salons, auto, ATF, and this board requires some identification marker on the structure. In the past, we've had some folks say they prefer not to even have a sign, the mailbox,
We wanted to do initially.
but they're gonna come and say, they're gonna want something, and it may be just a hanging sign, it may be something small, but they'll dictate what that is, unfortunately, through the licensing process. But their indication was to keep it modest, and so the condition that ended up worded like that as an or until we figure out what the state's gonna ask them to do. Honestly, for this particular mailbox, or, the state makes the call whether they want it on the house or on the mailbox, I guess.
Okay,
As small as possible.
okay. Thank you.
Any further questions? At this point, do we have a motion to accept?
I'm making a motion to accept.
Thank you. Do we have a second?
Second that.
All in favor?
Let me just
Excuse me.
add this, I'll second that based on the other, items that need to be met will be approved.
Henry may wanna modify that a little bit.
I think what Mr. Campbell is referring to is maybe the applicant conditions, incorporating those into the motion. If everyone's agreeable to that, I think that's
Yes.
a sound motion.
That is your second. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Carries.
And I told these folks they didn't have to stick around for the rest of our business, but I do want to tell them thanks, I appreciate it. With what's been going on, as you guys know, we haven't met since January, or February. They've been working on this, and this was the first opportunity we had to have, get you guys all in the room and have a meeting. So I know we didn't hold them up too much, I don't think, but I appreciate them working with us under the circumstance and everything. Thank you, guys.
Easy pleasure.
I have this paper with me, but I believe the rest was coming to.
Yeah, I can sign it. And we need to make a copy of that. yeah. Or Lisa, if you want to do that, they can follow you and do that in there. And we'll keep going.
Thank you for your time.
Yes, sir. You're welcome. Now we move down to new business.
New business. You guys
Okay.
ready for this
Go
one?
ahead, Steve.
All right, so this is a very odd item on the agenda, and it says new business, and all you got in your packet was basically this pursuant to KRS 100-237, that the staff has filed an application to revoke several prior conditional use permits. and we want to explain to you what we're doing and why we're doing it. And then there was a list that's on the screen like that I believe went out in your packet. It's a little hard to read, but these are the 13 conditional use permits. And in general, what we're doing, the old zoning ordinance that was adopted in 2004 in Danville had a requirement in the, and it's hard to see, but would have been the downtown district, what used to be called the DT, now it's central business. In that zoning district, but not highway business or general business, just in that district, to have any outdoor seating in front of a restaurant, you had to come before this board and get a conditional use permit. Just like these folks did, you had to file an application, pay a fee, and come before this board to basically have seats in front of your restaurant. And then there's a list of the 13 of these that have been approved, as you can see on back several years for different applications. The staff is proposing to revoke these 13, and it sounds worse. When we say revoke, it sounds like something's not right, and we're asking you guys to pull their authority. The reason we're revoking these or suggesting the new ordinance no longer has this requirement. So it's an unenforceable, and it's basically an outdated requirement of our ordinance because we no longer have language that deal with outdoor seating. The outdoor seating is simply a function of the use. So if a restaurant's in Danville, whether they want to have a cornhole area or an outdoor seating area or a patio, if it's part of what a restaurant does, they can do it. So we're revoking these outdoor seating approvals because they were specific to a number of chairs and tables, as well as some other kind of minor conditions. Several of those restaurants, and this is a bigger version on the right, are gone. Some of these, for example, you know, you guys see there's Jackie Dog and Q on Main and Picaras, and some of these folks had to get multiple conditional uses like Carbon and Bluegrass Pizza. I guess when the owner changed, they had to come back and get another one. So the outdoor seating now would simply be a function of your property and the sidewalk rules with the city. And if you're selling alcohol, your ABC license, which dictates where you can serve. No longer would the planning commission be involved in laying out seats and chairs in front of restaurants in the central business zone. So this is a cleanup exercise to revoke these things that have been recorded or in the courthouse and are following the property, following the real estate, even though we no longer have language in our current book, and there's, in our opinion, unenforceable to go out and, for example, tell Tuts they can only have 2 chairs at a table as opposed to 3 if they chose. And then to go another step further, we're trying to be flexible with these restaurants downtown during this situation. The city's been working with them to expand their ABC license even off their premise and give them outdoor seating options very loosely because they can't have the full occupancy in their restaurant. So this just gets the planning commission out of this, and that simply if you owned a downtown restaurant, you just go to the city and talk about the sidewalk where your property starts and stops and where you can put tables in their domain if you choose, and then how your ABC license functions if you're selling alcohol.
Steve, just for the record, were all these businesses or properties notified of this hearing?
They weren't notified formally because the way the hearings were going to write them a letter if this is acted. We did go out and approach all the businesses one-on-one, and I talked to the business owners, explained to them what we were getting ready to do. We had no pushback. But what I was fearful of is the way it was worded, the way we had to word it, that we were revoking somebody's approval. It sounded like we were taking something away and they would no longer have that opportunity, and that's not the case. So we went and talked to every business owner or property owner and some of the restaurant folks and explained what we were getting ready to do, and we didn't have any issue. Then the plan would be to write everyone a formal letter if this takes action and record it in the courthouse of that action.
Okay.
We have any
And I'd be
questions
glad to
from the
answer any
president?
questions of that.
I've got a question. These businesses pay an annual fee for that license that they have?
No, the conditional use permit was a one-time approval like we just did to get the ability to have the use. Now they do pay an annual license fee for the ABC if they're
ABC.
selling alcohol. They pay business license fees, I think, annually. But no, the planning commission, this is a one-time approval that we did, as you can see, several years ago, for a lot of these, and we no longer have that requirement in our book.
Are there gonna be expanded fees because of this?
Not from us.
Okay.
There's no fees related. We won't be involved in outdoor seating other than making sure a business is zoned properly to have a restaurant.
Because
coffee
it's
shop.
staff initiated, Steve saved him the expense of having to ask you all to remove this. He's taken that upon the office, so.
I have a
If you
question.
guys see fit to make a motion to approve this, revoking these 13, before we do that, the motion needs to include, not only are we revoking these conditional use permits, but all the conditions that were applied to, just like the case you heard, there were 5 conditions. Because some of these were tables and chairs and umbrellas and picnic tables, and some of them were even other conditions that, again, are outdated and obsolete. So we want to repeal everything that went with these 13 conditional use permits, including all the associated conditions that were approved.
I do have one question.
Yes, sir.
Since we are trying to take care of this in the proper position where it's in now, what is there to try to keep this under control? What sets this to keep this under control of, being accessible to everybody?
Yeah,
et cetera?
so the city does that now. So if you want to put, for example, we'll use Copper and Oak, the new restaurant. When they want to put their tables out front, you have to work with the city because, again, everyone's property kind of goes out to the edge of the awnings, somewhere in that range. And then past that point on that sidewalk, you're in either the city's property or the state's property. So they want to make sure that all those travel ways stay accessible. So the city literally works with every business on where those seats go and to make sure that we're not blocking the sidewalk. And in fact, we're handicap accessible through those tables. And there's plans even being talked about widening the sidewalk and other initiatives. But the goal is to give flexibility to downtown business owners to put those seats out front on the sidewalk. And again, some of those sidewalk areas are narrow on some of those side streets. Like, for example, in front of Harvey's, Jane Barleycorn, they all got those, and those sidewalks are narrow. So the way those tables are going to be situated are simply between the city and the property owner. And again, if you're selling alcohol, you're already somewhat restricted by your ABC license unless you get that amended.
Any further questions for discussion? Henry, what's the right language for this motion, sir? Just a motion to revoke?
Motion to revoke and authorize planning staff to file a release of the restrictions that are now outdated.
Okay. You've heard the motion. Do we have a motion?
Oh, I'll make the motion.
Do we have a second?
I'll second.
All in favor? Opposed?
Hey,
Carries.
And let me just add one extra note. That KRS 100-237, that's almost like a to-do list for the staff. We've adopted probably hundreds of CUPs over the years, lots of variances. And this statute actually requires that we're supposed to go back and review those on a regular basis and even see if they're valid. But it's more about, are they staying in compliance, like use this beauty shop. The goal here is that we go back and check these every now and then and make sure there's still 2 parking spaces and it didn't turn into 10 or something. So this is the first time we're doing this as a cleanup, but really we've got a lot of old conditional use permits that we found when we were looking these up that probably could be either revoked, addressed. But this KRS says we're supposed to go look at those every now and then and make sure they're still valid, and then bring those back to this board and you guys choose what to do. And some of those situations could be against the applicant's will. For example, if we had a compliance problem, but we're not aware of any, but that's what the statute's telling the staff to do, as well as our zoning ordinance on a regular basis. And that's something we'll look into, because when we were going through and we saw a whole bunch of old conditional use permits for lots of different things that we know are either not there anymore or maybe aren't in compliance.
Okay.
You plan on bringing those here to the group in the future?
Yeah, we're gonna dig into that list since things are kind of slow and kind of bring them in groupings. These are all outdoor seating, but for example, there may be a specific kind of conditional use. Let's use dog kennels, for example. Daycares, perfect. Dozens of them for daycares. If we go in there and say, hey, there's 6 of these are gone, or we happen to know 6 of these aren't complying with the outdoor play area, we may bring those to you to address in the kind of groups like that in the future.
You know, that's really my question. What happened, and this is just a curiosity, what happens when you discover a non-compliance?
It's a violation it's a zoning violation if the condition's not being followed, like one of these we just heard. And so we can either do code enforcement, and if we don't think we're getting compliance, you all have the authority to revoke that conditional use permit on a compliance-based issue, and that's what that statute.
Like a sign? You know, maybe we granted a CUP for a sign
Yeah,
on the side of that one we did on the side of a building.
well, some of those signs would normally be variances, and so but this conditional use, daycare is a better example. Let's say you get granted a daycare 38 kids, and we find out now they got 60 kids.
Oh,
Or in that CUP, there was a sign standard, but typically standalone signs where we're just making them bigger or smaller, those are variances. But conditional use permits on the daycares, a lot of those are we just know they're not there any longer.
Problems with signs would be a subject of staff sending them a violation letter. It's slightly different from the CUP review that Steve's talking about.
okay.
And we just were shocked. We got into, Lisa created a spreadsheet over a winter or two ago, I forget. And so she's got all of these hundreds of them on a spreadsheet so we can find these and search them. And she found all these because a lot of these I wasn't familiar with. And we just happened to see a whole bunch of stuff that we were like, wow, that's not there. What is that? So that's the plan, is just to bring you these as a housekeeping exercise, if anything, in the future.
Any more questions? Anything clear? G, announcements, Steve.
Appreciate y'all being here.
All righty, do we have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second? All opposed? In favor?
Who seconded that?
Oh, okay.
Appreciate that. We're done.
Well, Lonnie, you see how exciting these meetings are.
Hey, they're gonna get excited. I'm gonna guarantee you that.
And if we ever make it night.
Are you threatening us again?
If we ever made it night, we're alone, please.